The Spurs land De'Aaron Fox in one of the biggest trades we have seen in the NBA. We dive deeper into the details of this trade. We dive into what the trade means for the Spurs. We take a deeper look at the Spurs' current roster, and we talk about what this means for the future of the Spurs. What's good, Spurs Digest family? I am Bryan Colbert here with a deeper dive into the details of this massive NBA trade. We saw that Luka Doncic trade and said, man, how can it get even crazier? And honestly, I think this trade is crazier just because of what the Spurs gave up, and honestly what the Spurs did not have to give up to get a star well before his prime. I don't think Fox has even touched his prime yet. He is still a young player, and man, it is so exciting to see the Spurs make a move like this and know that they are going to be pushing for a playoff spot. They've already looked pretty good this year, and I'm so excited to dive into this more. But first, Spurs Digest family, y'all are helping us grow. Y'all are getting so much great content, and y'all are showing love. Y'all are commenting, but make sure y'all hit subscribe. Make sure y'all hit y'all doorbell to be notified every time we post. We are going to be giving you wall-to-wall coverage on this Spurs Digest show. You'll be hearing from Keenan soon. You will be hearing from me because it's game day today. It's still game day today. So later on in the day, you will be getting a pregame show as well. So there's a lot of content coming. Make sure you do not miss out on that. We appreciate everybody that subscribed so far because we are growing at a rapid rate, and so are the Spurs. So let's get right into it. Let's look at the details of this trade right now. Now, as we know, the Spurs get De'Aaron Fox. They also get Jordan McLaughlin. Be interested to see if he sticks on this roster. Honestly, it's just De'Aaron Fox and Chris Paul at guard at this point, so why not keep an extra guard for some depth purposes? Then you see what the Kings receive. They'll get Zach LaVine, Sidi Sissoko, who spent a lot of his time in the G League for the Spurs, but honestly is actually very talented, a really skilled passer. They'll get 3 first-round picks. They'll get 3 second-round picks. And then the Bulls will get Zach Collins, Tre Jones, Kevin Huerter, and their own 2025 pick via the San Antonio Spurs. It is looking good for us, man. Look at that. I don't think we could have imagined not having to give up more, to give De'Aaron Fox. And I think, honestly, all of us were willing to give up more players, willing to give up more picks. And honestly, let's take a look at the picks that are left right now for the San Antonio Spurs. So they own 6 of their next 7. They have 2 unprotected from Atlanta. They swapped the rights with Atlanta. Then they have the swapped rights from Boston. Then they have the more favorable of Dallas, Minnesota. Then they have the Sacramento one. Now, I want to point out that 2030 Dallas one could be big, especially now that Luka Doncic is gone. Honestly, it's huge to me that we kept these Atlanta picks. To me, I can't even believe that we were able to keep these Atlanta picks and not give up more of our current picks. The fact that we just gave up 1. We had 7 picks coming into that from just the Spurs alone, and we only had to give up 1. We stand with 6 still. This is incredible because, honestly, this is still trade capital as well. Like, there are still moves that could be made. I don't know if you necessarily need to make them at this point. You don't have to give up any starters. You give up role players, very, very quality role players. I do think you're going to want to look at maybe that big man depth, but y'all know I'm a big Charles Bassey guy. Y'all know I'm a huge Charles Bassey guy, but I wanted to show you where we were at with the draft picks because I think this is huge and something that must be talked about on how good this trade is. And man, shout out to Brian Wright for being able to once again just be an amazing GM, make great moves, and find ways to put the Spurs in the best position to succeed. We saw you guys talking, man. We saw a lot of hate coming that way, and I think it was just a matter of time before we saw a trade like this, man. I think the Spurs Digest team did a really great job of covering and being on top of all of the headlines and the rumors and such, and to see all of this come together so quickly, it's been great. And honestly, man, to see the Spurs be able to knock this out of the park, because that's what they did. They knocked this trade out of the park, man. It is so impressive to see what they were able to accomplish with so little. Like, man, getting De'Aaron Fox, think of what that does for the Spurs team. Think of what that does for the development of Wemby. Now you get to look at how you use these roster pieces because, I don't think we ever saw a world where we would be able to get a star and keep Keldon, keep Dev, and keep Stephon Castle. You're keeping quality young guys that now get to play next to a rising star. Because I still think we haven't seen the best of Fox. I think we all can agree on that. And to me, what's the best part of this is you don't only get a star, but you get somebody that is locked in on the defensive end. All of the mistakes and problems we are seeing with the Spurs feels like it gets fixed with this trade. De'Aaron Fox isn't going to turn the ball over. De'Aaron Fox isn't going to make bad mistakes. De'Aaron Fox isn't going to beat on the perimeter. He can guard the best of them, and this is so exciting. And then the way he's going to be able to control this offense, the way that Popovich is going to be able to incorporate him into this offense, I mean, it's going to be great. I can't wait to see when Popovich comes back. Man, shout out to the Spurs for being able to pull this off, man. Look at this. This is incredible. And to me, now it's like you get to do the fun part, right? We get to speculate. Because, yes, there's a game today. I'm sure this will drop by like midnight. But, yes, there's a game today. But you're not going to see those guys play. Like, I don't think you're going to see Fox play today. Like, that's almost a guarantee, right? But you're going to be able to see other guys. So we're going to want to see how we utilize, the depth that we have now, because Vassell is even scarier with a Fox. You understand that? Like, Keldon Johnson coming off the bench is even scarier. A Stephon Castle, a young rookie that can play next to him, two guys that can play tremendous defense is even more valuable when you put a guy like Fox on the floor. Not really sure if Jordan McLaughlin will stay on the roster, but I don't see why not. But I mean, when you far as like true point guards, as far as like true people that can run the offense, you're really looking at Fox, Paul, and then of course Castle can play that as well. But I mean, I gotta imagine we will see Chris Paul assume that role he assumed for the Golden State Warriors, where he was coming off the bench and, playing, closing minutes and things like that. But I got to imagine that is the easiest fit for Fox right now, because I don't think you want to take Castle. I don't think you want to remove that size and that defensive prowess that you'll have with Fox and Castle. So I think you have to keep Castle out there. So, I mean, of course, you have Chris Paul coming off of the bench, and then you keep Vassell, right? You keep your guy that can play 3-and-D. You keep your guy that can space the floor. I love what Vassell brings to a guy like Fox. I love him being able to have that option where he can kick it out to him. I mean, we've seen what he can do with volume scores like a Malik Monk. I mean, I think it's going to be great for Vassell. I think it's going to be a great move. And then don't forget Fox and Harrison Barnes, a little reunion right now. It's going to be great to see them be able to play together again. Harrison Barnes, he's been up and down this season, but I think, what I'm saying, he's a great addition to this starting unit, and I think he brings a lot of that veteran leadership, especially because you lose a little bit of veteran leadership when Chris Paul sits on the bench, but Fox more than makes up for that. Like, Fox is a true professional. He is an all-star, and really, man, he is arguably top 10, top 15 players in the NBA right now, if you really want to talk about it. I mean, look what he's been able to do with the Kings. I mean, it's been incredible, and he's going to do so much with Wemby. Wemby's going to look so good having a guy like Fox there, and then being able to have multiple lineups. Like, look at this depth right now. Like, look what, the Spurs will be able to do. Now you have a Jeremy Sochan who, he's a depth piece now. There's so many ways you can use Sochan. Keldon Johnson has looked great in this six-man type role. He's going to look even better in that. And then you have Chris Paul coming out too, who will also play like some type of six-man role, or just be, that veteran, off the bench that's going to, be able to pick up the slack when, Fox isn't on the court. I love this roster, man. This roster is a playoff roster. This roster is a 2K roster dream, right? You look at this and you love what you see from this roster, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see what this coaching staff is able to do with these players now, what Fox is able to bring, what Fox is able to teach these young guys. You still have young guys on this roster. You still have young guys that are going to be able to compete and play. And, man, I mean, the fact that you're able to keep Castle, right? Like, I mean, I don't think he was on the table ever. We talked about that a few videos ago. I don't think he was ever personally on the table. But if you to tell me that you keep Castle, Vassell, and Keldon Johnson, man, what an excellent job by this staff. What an excellent job, because, I mean, to still be able to have all of this draft capital left, it's incredible. I mean, I can't say enough about that. And, man, like, to really look into this and what this means for this team and what Fox is able to do, how he's able to control an offense and how he's able to impact the defense is huge. It's incredible. And, again, man, look at the picks that the Spurs still have, and it makes you question, it makes you speculate, what other moves do the Spurs make? Because, I mean, even though Fox is very young, this is still a win-now move. When you look at this roster, you look at these pieces, you look at the money that you put into this roster now, this is a win-now move. I think not even a few months from now, Fox will be eligible for that extension. And the Spurs going to give it to him. He's going to be happy to be here. I don't think there's better places to be for a guard right now than being able to play alongside a unicorn like Wemby. I mean, I cannot wait to have a De'Aaron Fox jersey. I cannot believe he is a Spur, man. I cannot wait to see the type of basketball, the way that the game elevates, the way that Fox has been able to elevate his teammates, the way we've seen him do that with the Kings. I look at this Spurs roster, which I think has way more depth now, that has way more. They were just missing that star, that real, guy that could come in and, finish games, and now we have that. Now we see that. Now Victor can watch that. Now Victor can watch what it takes to be a true star, because what you've heard from Fox is he's a professional, man. He's a great teammate. He's a great guy, and I just think that this is such an amazing move. It doesn't get better than this. You know what I'm saying? With what you had to give up, it just doesn't get better than this. And the Spurs have so much draft capital still. That is incredible to get a star and not have to give up much draft capital at all, not have to give up a starter. They didn't have to give up a starter. That is wild to me, and that is amazing, man. Shout out to the Spurs front office. Getting it done. You gotta love seeing this kind of stuff, man. I'm excited. I know y'all are excited. Let us know in the comments how you feeling. Let us know if you're as excited as me. What parts of this Fox trade excites you the most? Like, what does he bring to this offense and defense that you're excited about? Like I said, to me, it's the defense. To me, the defense and the leadership to me is what really excites me. Being able to have a guy that has that will to win, I think is going to do huge things for these young guys and give them a player that they haven't really got to play with before. And really, again, the Spurs is back, baby. The Spurs are back, and they're here to stay because, as I showed you, the draft picks are still there. The youth is still there. The core group that is the Spurs that we've come to know and love is still there. And there's room for growth still. I can't wait to see it, Spurs family. Let us know how y'all feeling in the comments. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you stay tuned, too, because Keenan is bringing us a video early in the morning. You know he has been locked in on all of this Spurs rumor stuff since the jump, so you definitely do not want to miss that. And then again, later on in the day, we will give you a Spurs Digest pregame show and get you ready for our next game as the Spurs take this next step, this next chapter for the Spurs that we are all excited to see. Until then, I am Bryan Colbert. This is Spurs Digest. Spurs is back, baby.